He's a good bully. He's doing good bullying. Like if as a bully, like you want them to be kind of creative with their threats and stuff like that. And so Yahweh gets a couple points for me. I know he's the bad guy, but he gets a couple points for creative bullying. Hey guys, welcome to Joel Reads Bible. I'm Joel and I read Bibles so that you don't have to. And I know, I'm still recovering from last episode too. It was a tough one. It was a gross one. Is this one going to be just as gross? Who knows? Is it going to be, overt laws saying you can own other nations as slaves? Well, he's already done that, but the Bible is so repetitive that you never know. They may just consistently throughout the rest of the book be like, by the way, you can own those ones as slaves. How much money do you want to put on when the Hebrews go and destroy a nation or take over a land or something like that they can keep the people of the land as slaves? How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet that that's not the only time that slavery is going to be mentioned, and the other times prior to that, of course. But that's how much you want to bet that that's not the last time that God endorses slavery. We're here starting fresh. We're starting fresh in chapter 26, and we're going to get into it. Just subscribe, like the video, comment on it. Thank you very much. All right. Without further ado, Exodus chapter 26. You shall make for yourselves no idols, and you shall not raise up a carved image or a pillar, and you shall not place any figured stone in your hand to bow down to it, for I am Yahweh your God. He doesn't like that. And this is, evidence what I was just saying, where Yahweh likes to repeat himself. In the beginning of this chapter, he doesn't say, and Yahweh told Moses on the top of Mount Sinai. That was last chapter. So I'm assuming that this is all in the same breath. You know what I mean? This is all at the exact same time. This isn't a new idea. This is just a continuation, but they must have just split up these chapters because they were far too long. So as we're reading this, keep in mind that you shall have no other idols. This is the guy that told them they could keep slaves. You know what I mean? Always keep that in the back of your head. This next verse, you shall keep my Sabbaths and have reverence for my sanctuary. I am Yahweh. Reverence for the guy that said that they could keep foreign people as slaves? Does he deserve reverence? That's how you should read the whole entire Bible. You should just get the worst thing and put everything against that. That's the guy that, you know what I mean? Or you could find the best thing. Right? You could find the absolute best thing and go, love your neighbor as yourself. I assume that's the best thing. And you go, yeah, when you own foreigners as slaves, well, love your neighbor as yourself. I don't know if the good thing undermines the bad thing as much as the bad thing undermines the good thing. I feel like this is a bad apple spoils the bunch sort of thing, but for ideas. I'm rambling, and we're not in chapter 25 right now. We're in chapter 26, but I guess I'm still reeling from it. He's just repeating, don't have any graven images and don't bow down to them. You can have little figurines if you want that you can hold in your hand. Just don't have it for the purpose of bowing down to it. Is this the 10 Commandments again? But now in Leviticus 26, we already had it not quite twice, but is this a third time or something? If you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you your rains in their season, and the land shall yield its increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. Your threshing shall continue until the vintage, and the vintage shall continue until the sowing time. You shall eat your bread to the full, and dwell in your land safely. This is a bartering system. The Levites are really tricky, right? Because now they're doing, I guess, what other people did. You want to have a good rainy season, a good crop, and you're going to have to kill your kid. This is Yahweh's just one of these crazy, wacky gods of the time. You need to motivate people because what are we getting out of this? Well, you're going to have really good crops and things like that. But what if that didn't happen? Again, I don't think you can consistently say that would happen. And what will be interesting, if there's ever famines, because there are probably going to be famines. This is interesting because if I toss my mind back, because sometimes I'll toss my mind, let me toss my mind back to the story of Abraham. Abraham, as you'll remember, is explicitly said to have kept all of God's decrees and laws. Yet, there was a famine in the land. There was a famine, and Abraham had to leave where he was and go to Egypt, where he pimped out his wife to Pharaoh. Now, God stopped Pharaoh. We don't know if it was before or after he banged Abraham's wife. But the thing is that this promise does not ring true to Abraham. Now, he's not making it to Abraham, right? It shows that maybe this is a new thing. Like it used to be that if you keep my commandments, I will still put you into a famine and put you in compromising positions where you have to lie and never punish you for that because that was on me. But now I'm changing that. Now, if you keep your commandment, I'm immutable, by the way. I never change. But now, if you keep my commandments, you'll get your rain, your land will yield its increase, and blah, blah, blah. There is a change in who God is as the story continues. I will give peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and no one will make you afraid. I will remove evil animals out of the land, neither shall the sword go through your land. Peace. You shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall chase 10,000. And your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. This is definitely hyperbole, right? Like I'm not good at math, but 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall chase 10,000. I can't do anything when it comes to math, but that just seems like it's hyperbole. I think the whole thing's hyperbole because I will bring peace in the land and you shall lie down and no one will make you afraid. Let's just hope that maybe there will come a time in the book where they keep the commands and then they get the peace. But this also might be one of those promises that's like impossible. Like maybe you can't keep the commands, which I know we are also going to learn whether or not it's possible to keep these commands. God's like, I never have to give them peace. I never have to give them peace. I've made these commands so stupid. They're never going to be able to follow all these dumb commands. Like because a lot of them are idiotic. Someone's going to do strange fire and then it's like peacetime over. Sorry. Someone's going to, be attracted to their mother-in-law and then it's just like the end. As if I am going to have to somehow make 5 people able to beat 100. Like that'll never happen. And make 100 people be able to defeat 10,000. Like that's never going to happen. Okay? I don't have to do that because they won't be able to follow these stupid laws. I will have respect for you, make you fruitful, multiply you, and will establish my covenant with you. You shall eat old supplies long kept, and you shall move out the old because of the new. I will set my tent among you, and my soul won't abhor you. Aww, your soul won't abhor us. Thanks, God. God has a soul, by the way. God has a soul. God has a soul? What's that supposed to mean? Our soul is the spiritual thing that like we have a physical body. That's not who we are. Who we are is our soul apparently. But God is a spiritual being. He's just like all he is a spiritual being. But he has a soul? Because I thought like when we go to heaven, we're all soul. But apparently God is a thing that has a soul. It's not that he is a soul. So that makes the whole concept of soul a little bit confusing to me. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but please let me know in the comments, what is soul? But anyway, these ancient Hebrews are probably like, we don't want to eat old supply. Like, can we just get the new supply? Why do we always have to eat all these old supplies? I will walk among you, and will be your God, and you will be my people. I am Yahweh your God, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt, and you should not be their slaves, because you're my slaves. I have broken the bars of your yoke and made you walk upright. And they're like, have you though? Have you? You're making us slaves to ourselves. You also have called us your servants. So I don't know. I think we're good, God. I don't know if we really want you around. You're 100% making women slaves. All the women are like, can we get rid of this Yahweh? Do you mind like getting Yahweh out of here? He's a nightmare. I don't like him. I don't like him at all. But if you will not listen to me and will not do these commandments, and if you shall reject my statutes, and if your soul abhors my ordinances, so that you will not do all my commandments, but break my covenant, I also will do this with you. I will appoint terror over you, even consumption and fever that shall consume the eyes and make the soul to pine away. You will sow your seed in vain, for your enemies will eat it. I will set my face against you, and you will be struck before your enemies. Those who hate you will rule over you, and you will flee when no one pursues you. Yeah, like we say, we're good, God. We don't need... how about we just don't do the deal? You leave us alone, and we'll just take our chances with the famine. You're already doing the famines. You're gonna... Look, there's too much at risk. The pros don't outweigh the cons. We'll just get like regular yields. We don't need the increased yields. If you could just like leave us alone, we would love that. We would abhor you if you stay. Can you just leave us alone? Again, this is probably the Levites writing this, right? And they're just like, we gotta drive home how much we want them to bring us rams often and let us keep our land and be okay with us having slaves. By the way, they can own slaves, all right? So that's in there too, right? So they're just like, this is how we want to live. We want to make sure that there's always a reason for them to give us food. That's why we have the catch-all sacrifices. We want to make sure that we know who's sick and we got all the hot goss and, have arbitrary rules about clean and unclean things. But how are we going to make sure that they follow all this stuff? How about we'll say that we'll give them consumption and fever that shall consume their eyes? That's scary. Does that sound scary? Yeah, that freaks me out. It'll make the soul pine away. I don't know what it means, but it seems really bad. All right, let's do that. They'll probably follow all of our stupid laws. If you, in spite of these things, will not listen to me, then I will chastise you 7 times more for your sins. It's like, even though I say that I'm going to do these things, they'll probably be like, let's try it. Okay, he didn't do anything because he doesn't have any power. It's like, okay, if you guys keep doing that, then I'll get you 7 times. Oh my goodness. I know nothing happened the first time we didn't follow the sin thing, but did you remember that fake story they told about Nadab and Abihu? He's going to do that times 7. I will break the pride of your power, and I will make your sky like iron and your soil like bronze. Your strength will be spent in vain, for your land won't yield its increase. Neither will the trees of the land yield their fruit. So now he's like, you make little mistakes and like, all right, maybe everything will still be fine. But if you continue to not listen to me, then I'm going to just like get really mad. You can't continually sin like that. So I'm going to send like 7 times more. And actually the sky will be iron, so it'll just be black and nothing will grow. You will never eat again. I guess this is all these people had. I know they had the animals, but they must have been farmers, because from Genesis on, it's all about having to work the ground and having to make food that way. So this doesn't resonate as much with me, and I know it's important. I know that farming is super important, of course, right? Obviously, I eat my vegetables. But for these people, it was just like everything, right? The whole, every single, it was just like, God is going to give you crops, God crops, you know? But now the problem with this is that like, they probably know exactly how we're going to get the crops, right? They can manufacture that. I was in Iceland. They are of tundra, like it's just winter there, it seems all the time. And there was this greenhouse that grew tomatoes. And they did this world famous tomato soup or something like that. But there was this bright light, like the sun coming off of this greenhouse, and there may only be 4 hours of sun a day, but they are growing tomatoes, damn it. They don't really need God. Like, God isn't involved. The sky in Iceland is like iron. Like, there's not a lot of light going on there. And I'm sure that the soil is like bronze because it's frozen, but they've still found a way to work past it because they're people and they're the ones that are doing everything. God isn't involved at all. Unless the reason why Iceland's the way it is because they kept doing bad things in spite of God. I don't know. That would mean that God cares about what other people do, not just the Hebrews, which is neither here nor there yet. If you walk contrary to me and won't listen to me, then I will bring 7 times more plagues on you according to your sins. So he's just whining at this point. And I will send the wild animals among you, which will rob you of your children and destroy your livestock and make you few in number. Your roads will become desolate. Now he's just like thinking anything he can think of. So this is good though. We get like all the interests that these people have. The plagues, okay, cool. Wild animals, like we're imagining just wild animals running in, bears, hyenas, lions, just ripping their children from them, destroying livestock. You know, they're just going to eat. He's not going to even send other armies. He's going to send wild animals just to like kill them all. If by these things you won't be turned back to me, but will walk contrary to me, then I will also walk contrary to you. I will strike you, even I, 7 times for your sins. I will bring a sword upon you that will execute the vengeance of my covenant. You will be gathered together within your cities, and I will send the pestilence among you. You will be delivered into the hand of the enemy. Oh, now we got the enemy involved. We had the animals that are ripping you apart and killing all of you. And now he's like, you still not going to listen? I'm going to send an enemy. Then I will break your staff of bread. Your staff of bread? You should have staffs of wood, guys. 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall deliver your bread again by weight. You shall eat and not be satisfied. That must be some sort of metaphor. I don't know what this whole bread metaphor means. 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven. Like maybe they're clamoring. We move out of the way. I need to get my loaf in here. God is just whining. He's not even making sense. He's like, I hate you guys. If you're not going to listen, I'm really going to get mad. Please listen to me. Listen. God, why don't you say, like, if you're not going to listen because of all the threats, and he did say he was going to reward them with nice stuff, but like, why doesn't he go, here's why I want you to do this. Like, this is why I want you to atone for a house. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense because houses can't sin. I'm doing this as an object lesson for people 2,000 years or 4,000 or 5,000 years, however long from now. They'll be like, we don't want to do that. Yeah, if you feel like, why are we killing all these animals? There's a good reason for it. And let me explain this to you. And like, just come down and be nice to them. By the way, here's a joke. Like, here's a joke I wrote. Do you guys like this? You know, just like, be a buddy, be a friend. Because here it's just like this weird tit for tat agreement thing. I feel like a relationship would be better. I mean, Christians say they have a relationship with God. I don't think so. I don't think he's interested in that. I think he's an authoritarian. I think he's a dictator. He's promising, just like food, you will be fed, but then, you have to do all these stupid nonsense things and kill a lot of the stuff that you would be eating. Or here's like a myriad of vicious, violent things that I will do to you if you don't listen. If you'll notice, we're doing a lot more threatening than we are promising. It's always negative reinforcement. Where's the positive reinforcement, Yahweh? Just a little bit of fruit? What else do we get? Descendants? Before it was descendants. Now the descendants are suffering. This guy is creating everyone to suffer. He just wants people to suffer, especially because he's doing laws that he knows people are not going to be able to achieve. And that's why you're probably never going to read in this book that there was ever peace. That's just my guess, because it wouldn't be interesting and they want to keep this story interesting. If you, in spite of this, won't listen to me, but walk contrary to me, then I will walk contrary to you in wrath. I will also chastise you 7 times for your sins. You will eat the flesh of your sons, and you will eat the flesh of your daughters. He's driving his people to cannibalism, which obviously is a punishment. Like, obviously it's a bad thing. Is this the best option? One thing that you always have to remember is that, like, everything that occurs in this book is because of a world that we can understand through natural processes, right? Like, there's nothing supernatural going on here. If you don't do this thing, then bad things are going to happen, but all the bad things are going to be very much within the realm of the world we're in. So, like, in this case, you'll be really, really hungry, so you'll want to eat the flesh of your sons and daughters, I assume, right? There's no sort of like, and I will send, a light so bright that you'll become blind and fall off cliffs that I will make. Like, he's not doing anything that's wild and supernatural. It's all just going to be very just like, again, natural sorts of things that will befall you. I will destroy your high places and cut down your incense altars and cast your dead bodies upon the bodies of your idols. And my soul will abhor you. He has a soul again. I will lay your cities to waste, and I will bring your sanctuaries to desolation. I will not take delight in the sweet fragrance of your offerings. I will bring the land to desolation, and your enemies who dwell in it will be astonished by it. I will scatter you among the nations, and I will draw out the sword after you. Your land will be a desolation, and your cities shall be a waste. Then the land will enjoy its Sabbaths as long as it lies desolate, and you are in your enemy's land. Even then the land will rest and enjoy its Sabbaths. As long as it lies desolate, it shall have rest, even the rest which it didn't have in your Sabbaths when you lived on it. That's kind of a cool one. I kind of like that, where he's like, hey guys, every 7th year, every 6th year or whatever it is, have a Sabbath for your land. Just take a break. And now he's like, if you don't follow this, it's going to rest for a while, because you guys are going to be in Babylon, in captivity somewhere. And by the way, we are not writing that now. Why would we ignore that? Ignore that. It's kind of poetic, and it's kind of a fun sort of threat, You don't want your land to rest? It's going to rest. Okay, it's going to rest for years while you're in captivity. Have a nice long break. It's funny. It's good. It's good sort of like taunting. He's a good bully. He's doing good bullying. Like if as a bully, like you want them to be kind of creative with their threats and stuff like that. And so Yahweh gets a couple points for me. I know he's the bad guy, but he gets a couple points for creative bullying. As for those of you who are left, I will send a faintness into their hearts in the land of their enemies. The sound of a driven... How are there people there? You've left it desolate, whatever. The sound of a driven leaf will put them to flight, and they shall flee. As one flees from the sword, they will fall when no one pursues. They're like, what's that? Oh, no! And they're just running. They're falling all over the place. Oh, I'm just so scared. Why? Well, because the wild animals came and ate our babies. There was a lot of horrible stuff that happened. Then the enemies came, and then I had to eat my son. So yeah, I'm a little bit skittish at this point because sorry, it was just a little bit of rain. I don't know what's going to happen, you know? Sorry, that was some rustling in the grass. It was just a wind. Anyway, sorry, what are you doing here? They will stumble over one another as it were before the sword when no one pursues. You will have no power to stand before your enemies. You will perish among the nations. The land of your enemies will eat you up. Those of you who are left will pine away in their iniquity in your enemies' land, and also in the iniquities of their fathers they shall pine away with them. Okay. These people are just going to lose their minds and just fall all over the place in fear. And like I'm picturing Gollum in Lord of the Rings, just like, you know, when he's like goes crazy with the ring and he's like in the cave or whatever, he's falling down and stuff like that. You know, I feel like that's what's happening to them. You're paying for the iniquity of your fathers. And this is happening a lot. And this happens in, I believe, Exodus 20 during the Ten Commandments. You're going to read something like that. And we just get that reiterated through this scripture. So if there ever comes a time in Ezekiel or something, in another book that says that God doesn't let people pay for the sins of their parents or something like that, that's just a blatant contradiction. So keep that in mind. These types of verses are probably going to be contradicted at some point. It's just not what we would define as justice. Just keep that in mind. It's God justice, which doesn't match our justice. If they confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers in their trespass, which they trespassed against me, and also that because they walked contrary to me, I also walked contrary to them and brought them into the land of their enemies, if then their uncircumcised heart is humbled, and they then accept the punishment of their iniquity, then I will remember my covenant with Jacob, my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham, and I will remember the land. You can redeem yourself through confessing. I did it. I slept with the wrong person. I'm so sorry. I forgot the different relationships that I wasn't supposed to do, and I did one of the relationships that I wasn't supposed to do, you know. I think this is the first time we get the uncircumcised heart idea. Because we have the circumcision all over the place. We know that. And I've heard this idea of the circumcised heart, and I thought it was just Christians yapping. But it actually is here. Then their uncircumcised heart, if then their uncircumcised heart is humbled, so your heart can grow a foreskin. I don't know. I don't get it. What is circumcision, I guess, is the question. I thought it was that, you know, but then maybe it means something more. Like, obviously it means something more, but like, what could it possibly, there's some truth to it that they would have known in their context, and we don't know because we're not back then. And so there's just some things that we'll never understand. That's not great if you think that God has written this book to reveal himself to anyone. It makes a lot of sense when it's just like people that came up with stuff and that would have been significant to their culture, and, you know, it's just their own little thing and we can surmise, I wonder what that meant. And that's cool. Yeah, it really does undermine the idea of a God that wants to have a relationship with you. The land also will be left by them and will enjoy its Sabbaths while it lies desolate without them. And they will accept the punishment of their iniquity because they rejected my ordinances, and their soul abhorred my statutes. Yet for all that, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject them, neither will I abhor them, to destroy them utterly and to break my covenant with them, for I am Yahweh their God. But I will for their sake remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the nations, that I might be their God. I am Yahweh. These are the statutes, ordinances, and laws which Yahweh made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by Moses. Does that mean we're done? Does that mean we're done with all the laws and ordinances? That'd be nice. That'd be really, really nice. I would love that. I guess they have to repent. They have to confess their iniquity, and then God will forgive them. It's not going to just come out of nowhere. But there was so much violence. There was so much like threatening, horrible things that Yahweh is going to do to these people. And then he was kind of like, but, I still like you guys. I'm not really fully on board with like following through on this stuff. You guys are pretty lousy and I can't stand you, but I'm going to remember the other ordinance that I gave to the people that I did like, the patriarchs there, for no reason, because they were all kind of morally bankrupt themselves. But I still really liked them, and I brought you out of Egypt and all that. So I'm going to kind of forgive that stuff, even though you guys are being jerks. We had a friend over one time, years ago when I was a child, and my mom used to put on a timer if you didn't eat your food. And it'd be like, if you don't eat your food by the time you have the timer, you don't get to go to bed. You don't get any dessert, or you have to go to bed without dessert, or something like that. And I remember my mom trying to take this hard line with this kid, and the kid's mom, who was there, was like, "No, don't make her do it." No, like because the girl was like crying, really upset about it, and the mom's like, "No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll eat it. Don't wait." What's kind of funny is that there was no follow through. And Yahweh reminds me of that mom at the time where it's like, you got to do this. I'm serious. I'm putting the timer on or you don't get dessert. I can't do it. Okay, forget it. Forget it. Do you realize that you should have eaten it? Yeah, I think I should have eaten it, but okay, then it's fine. Don't worry about it. Here's your cupcake. Just don't cry. It's fine. Yes, I did say that you were not going to get dessert and you're going to have to go straight to bed. But, I like you. I actually really like your dad. He's your, my husband. We're lovers. So I'll be good to you still. I'm mommy. All right, guys, that is chapter 26. I hope that the laws are done. Like, that would be really, really nice, because it seems like that was like the end of the laws and the ordinances. We have a few more chapters in Leviticus. Then we're going to move on to Numbers, which I think is going to be really hard to get through. So I appreciate everyone being here. I appreciate the subscriptions. I appreciate all the likes and the commenting. I know that this stuff is kind of dry. This section is a little bit dry. We have to do it. We have to read the whole entire Bible from start to finish in context so that we can really understand all the nonsense that it's spewing. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Bye.